You are tearing yourself apart and calling it devotion. You call it dedication. You call it being a good human being. But when you strip away the emotion and look at it honestly, it is none of those things. It is self-destruction wrapped in a noble disguise. There is an unsettling truth about human nature that most people refuse to confront. A truth that Niccolo Machiavelli, the legendary architect of cold strategy, quietly whispered to rulers centuries ago. A truth that comfortable society has chosen to bury. The truth is this: not every person can be rescued. And far more importantly, not every person actually wants to be. There are people walking this earth who are not looking for a way forward. They are looking for something to hold on to, and if you extend your hand, they will not use it to rise. They will use it to keep themselves afloat while pulling you beneath the surface. They will anchor themselves to your generosity while you slowly drown under the weight of their disorder. You already know who this is about. You have encountered them. Perhaps you are aching over one right now. The friend who manufactures one disaster after another. The partner who consumes your energy while demanding infinite patience. The family member who borrows your time, your money, your inner peace, and repays you with nothing but resentment. You try to repair them. You try to restore them. You convince yourself that with enough love, with enough sacrifice, they will eventually turn around. But Machiavelli would cut through the sentiment with surgical precision and tell you the truth. A person who commits entirely to being good will eventually be destroyed by those who do not. Compassion without limits is not a virtue. It becomes a vulnerability. It becomes an opening that manipulative, reckless, and self-destructive people will exploit until there is nothing remaining of you. This is not a call to become heartless. It is a call to survive. It is about guarding your energy so it can be channeled where it genuinely produces results. If you are exhausted from giving endlessly and receiving nothing but depletion in return, then listen closely. This may be one of the most critical awakenings of your life. Once you begin seeing people through this clear lens, there is no returning to comfortable blindness. Before you can identify the types of people you must separate yourself from, you need to understand why you keep falling into this pattern in the first place. Why do you rush forward when the situation is visibly destructive? Why do you attempt to rescue someone who continuously manufactures their own suffering? Because you have been programmed to believe your worth is measured by how much you can do for others. You were raised to think that goodness means absorbing pain on someone else's behalf. You were taught that saying no is an act of selfishness, even when saying yes is quietly killing you. Machiavelli would classify this as strategic self-annihilation. The reality is, your time, your energy, and your attention are finite resources. Every drop you pour into someone who squanders it is not simply lost. It is actively stealing from your own future. Picture your life as a vessel with limited cargo space and limited supplies. If you welcome everyone aboard without discernment, the vessel does not become a sanctuary. It sinks under the accumulated weight, and when it goes down, it takes everything with it, including you. To keep it sailing, you must be deliberate. You must be willing to turn people away when they bring destruction with them. Sometimes the most profound act of care is creating distance. Sometimes the only way a person truly learns is by standing face to face with the full consequences of their own choices. When you constantly step in and absorb those consequences, you rob them of the very lesson that might have transformed them. The first type is someone who appears permanently surrounded by catastrophe. Every conversation brings a fresh emergency. Jobs are lost, trust is broken, money vanishes, and somehow another crisis always materializes. Initially, it seems like terrible luck. You feel compassion. You reach out, offer guidance, perhaps even resources. For a brief window, stability returns. Then the wheel turns again. This is not misfortune. It is a pattern authored by their own behavior. These individuals lack self-awareness, self-discipline, and ownership. They make the same destructive decisions on a loop. They ignore every warning signal. They assign blame everywhere except inward. And the moment you try to help, you become absorbed into the pattern. Their turbulence begins disrupting your life. Their instability becomes your burden. You cannot bring order to someone who is fundamentally attached to disorder. Some people are more at ease in chaos because chaos relieves them of responsibility. As long as they remain a victim of circumstance, they never have to take the wheel. By protecting them, you are not lifting them. You are enabling them. The possibility of change only emerges when they are forced to carry the full weight of their consequences without someone else softening the blow. The second type is even more demanding. This is the one who receives without end and never reaches satisfaction. The one who treats your help as an expectation rather than a gift. The first time you come through for them, they may seem genuinely grateful. They thank you. They celebrate you. You feel valued. But gradually, that warmth dissolves. Requests transform into demands. Appreciation evaporates. Eventually, they stop asking altogether because they simply assume you will always appear. And the moment you hesitate or decline, they respond with irritation or carefully aimed guilt. This is the bottomless well. No matter how much you pour in, it never fills because the problem is not scarcity, it is entitlement. Helping someone like this creates a corrupted dynamic. They become dependent, you become responsible, and rather than gratitude, that dependence curdled into resentment. People frequently grow to resent those they rely upon because dependence reminds them of their own inadequacy. Your capability highlights their stagnation. Rather than drawing inspiration from you, they feel diminished. That is why, paradoxically, the people you help the most are sometimes the ones speaking against you the moment you leave the room. It is not rational, but it is deeply human. One of the simplest ways to reveal someone's character is to say no to them once. A single refusal exposes everything. A mature, self-respecting person will accept it. A person driven by entitlement will respond with frustration, manipulation, or manufactured guilt. That reaction is your answer. A healthy individual honors your limits. The bottomless well retaliates with coldness, resentment, or punishment for cutting off the supply. If you witness that reaction, remove yourself without hesitation. You cannot rescue someone who believes existence owes them everything. They will consume all you have and look back at you with hollow eyes, asking if that was truly all. The third type drains you not through chaos or entitlement, but through deliberate intent. Machiavelli understood that envy is among the most corrosive forces within any circle, whether a royal court, a workplace, or a friendship group. The smiling saboteur is often someone standing very close to you, a longtime friend, a colleague who began at the same level, but you evolved, sharpened yourself, and advanced while they remained fixed in place. They cannot bear that gap, but they are strategic about it. They do not confront you openly. Visible enemies are manageable because you can see them approaching. The smiling saboteur conceals their resentment behind warmth and familiarity. Pay close attention to how they respond when you share good news. You mention a promotion, and they immediately redirect to the pressure and the long hours. You share excitement about a new relationship, and they caution you against getting hurt again. It sounds like concern. Underneath it, seeds of doubt are being quietly planted. This is their method. They package envy as advice. They erode your confidence while performing the role of supporter. They want you smaller so you no longer cast a shadow over them. They cannot fix what they refuse to examine within themselves. The only effective response is concealment. Keep your wins private. Guard your plans. Do not expose your momentum to someone who privately resents it. Around them, remain unremarkable. Offer nothing significant. Let them believe things are standing still. Attempting to heal their envy with your generosity is dangerous. It is the equivalent of trusting someone who is already holding a match near what you have built. Pause here for a moment. Take this in. Faces are probably surfacing already. Names you have been avoiding. You may feel guilt pressing upward. An internal voice may be insisting that they need you, that you can be the exception, that you alone can reach them. That voice is not wisdom. It is ego. It is the belief that your presence can override patterns that existed long before you arrived. You are not boundless. You are human with finite reserves of time and energy. If you keep attaching yourself to people who are fueled by dysfunction, you will hollow yourself out entirely. This is not metaphorical. It manifests physically. Stress accumulates, resentment compounds, and eventually your body and mind fracture under the weight. You cannot afford that cost. The fourth type operates more subtly. This person does not approach with aggression or arrogance. They come with visible vulnerability. The professional victim. Machiavelli recognized that power does not always arrive loudly. It can also arrive through sympathy, and sympathy has the ability to bypass rational thought entirely. You must learn to distinguish genuine suffering from weaponized suffering. A person experiencing real struggle wants to move through it and forward. A professional victim constructs an identity around their pain. They tend it, display it, and depend on it. Their wounds become their currency. They expect accommodation, attention, and exemption from accountability because of what they have endured. They use their suffering as armor against responsibility. They claim paralysis because of their circumstances. They frame any attempt to hold them accountable as cruelty. If you try to encourage their growth, they push back because growth threatens the very role that earns them attention and care. This creates a trap with no exit. Every effort to help them will be deflected or deemed insufficient. They will lean heavier on you, requiring you to bear more of their weight. And when you finally reach your limit and step back, they may transform instantly. The fragile person becomes hostile. The story gets rewritten. You become the one who abandoned them, the source of their latest wound. By spending yourself trying to be their foundation, you unwittingly positioned yourself to become their next villain the moment you stopped holding them up. Real compassion sometimes means stepping away and allowing someone to encounter reality without interference. The fifth type challenges your patience from a different angle: the arrogant fool, not someone who simply lacks knowledge. Lack of knowledge is correctable. This is someone who has sealed themselves off from learning entirely. They are fiercely attached to their own conclusions, even when those conclusions are actively dismantling their life. Machiavelli warned that a person without the capacity for wisdom cannot be guided wisely. You cannot reach someone who already believes they have arrived. You may see their mistakes with perfect clarity. You may recognize every wrong turn before they take it. You try to redirect them to illuminate a better path, but they do not receive it. They argue, they dismiss you, they construct elaborate justifications that defy logic. They are not pursuing truth, they are defending their identity. A challenge to their thinking feels like an assault on their person. This draws you into arguments that consume your energy and produce no movement. You must accept a fundamental reality. You cannot reason someone out of a belief they never reasoned themselves into. The arrogant fool is governed by ego. That is why logic fails to penetrate. When their decisions eventually deliver consequences, they will not accept ownership. They will locate something else to blame: circumstances, other people, possibly you. Stop volunteering to become the teacher for someone who has no intention of being a student. It is its own form of arrogance to believe you can force wisdom into a sealed mind. Machiavelli's approach was colder and more effective: silence. Let reality serve as the instructor. Reality does not debate. It simply delivers outcomes. When the arrogant fool speaks, do not rush to correct them. Nod. Respond with something neutral. Then step back and watch from a safe distance as events unfold. Conserve your insight for those who are actually searching for it. The sixth and final type is the one who inflicts the deepest wounds: the scorpion. There is an ancient story. A scorpion asks a frog to carry it across a river. The frog hesitates, fearing it will be stung. The scorpion argues that stinging would doom them both, so there would be no logic in it. The frog accepts and begins to cross. Midway through, the scorpion strikes. As they both begin to sink, the frog asks why. The answer is simple. It is the scorpion's nature. There are people whose fundamental nature leans toward betrayal, whose patterns replay destruction on an endless loop. This is the person you have forgiven repeatedly. They betray you, and you forgive. They deceive you, and you forgive. They injure you, and you still open the door again. Why? Because they display remorse. Because they make promises. Because they say this time is genuinely different. You want to believe in their transformation. You want to be the person who held faith when everyone else walked away. But Machiavelli observed that people rarely alter their fundamental character. Behavior adheres to patterns. Character reveals itself through time and repetition. The most reliable indicator of what someone will do next is what they have already done, again and again. By shielding this person from consequences, you are not nurturing growth. You are distorting the signals reality sends them. You are teaching them that they can wound you and remain in your life without cost. Every time you take them back, you erode a portion of your own self-respect, and they lose respect for you in equal measure. They do not interpret your forgiveness as love. They interpret it as permission. Machiavelli counseled wariness toward those who have betrayed others because their pattern will eventually turn toward you as well. Loyalty is not a single decision. It is a practice. Betrayal is not an isolated incident, it is a recurring behavior. When you recognize this pattern, the only effective answer is complete and total separation, not gradual distancing, not partial contact, a full severance. It will be painful. It may feel like amputating part of yourself, but holding on to something already corrupted only allows the damage to spread further inward. The scorpion cannot be transformed by your patience, it can only be avoided. Trust what they have shown you. Believe their actions, not the words that follow. The pattern is now fully visible. 6 forms of destruction laid bare before you: the chaos architect, the bottomless taker, the envious saboteur, the professional victim, the sealed mind, the repeating betrayer. You can recognize them now. You see them in conversations you have been replaying, in relationships you told yourself were unavoidable. There is a weight that settles with this recognition because understanding it demands that you act differently. You will have to make choices others may not approve of. Some will label you selfish, others will call you distant or calculating. Accept those labels without argument. What they name as selfishness is most often self-preservation. What they describe as coldness is most often clarity. The shift required of you is this: stop being the rescuer and begin governing your own life. The rescuer burns alive to provide warmth for others. The sovereign builds something that stands independently. The rescuer throws themselves into every storm. The sovereign creates a structure that guides without being consumed. Think of yourself as a lighthouse. You stand, you illuminate, but you do not plunge into the waves for every ship that ignores your signal. Those seeking safety will navigate toward the light. Those who refuse will drift on, but the lighthouse does not collapse trying to stop them. This is the deeper truth. You are not responsible for repairing everyone around you. Your responsibility is to maintain yourself, your stability, your direction, your integrity. When you stop feeding energy into situations beyond repair, something shifts. Time returns to you. Your thinking clears. The persistent tension begins to lift. Your attention sharpens. You begin constructing a life defined not by damage control, but by deliberate purpose. And in that reclaimed space, you discover the capacity to genuinely support those who deserve it. The ones who listen, who grow, who give as readily as they receive. That is where your energy belongs. Real strength is not measured by how much suffering you can absorb for others. It is measured by how wisely you direct your effort. Machiavelli once observed that the majority of people judge by appearances, while very few perceive reality. Let others form whatever impression they choose. You do not owe anyone an explanation. What matters is that you understand your own decisions from the inside, why you stepped back, why you chose silence, why you defended your space. That internal clarity becomes your foundation. But there remains one final challenge. Once you have removed the distractions, once you have created distance from those who drain you, you are left alone with yourself. No chaos to manage, no crisis to absorb, just your own reflection staring back. And in that stillness, something uncomfortable may surface. Some of what you have been trying to repair in others is connected to something unresolved within you. Some patterns you tolerated were mirrors reflecting parts of yourself you have not yet been willing to face. That is a different kind of work entirely, a deeper kind. The real transformation begins there, not in saving others, but in finally turning toward yourself.